The prequels have ruined this for me because I see vials of face huggers and I just assume David's hiding in the walls. Just like, ooh.
My babies. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Mala, which is hello in Exhosa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But they are in the Cape Provinces of South Africa, which is the southern tip of Africa. That was brought up real quick because we opened up the windows, and when I say we, I mean me. And, well, it looked like this for the video viewers.
Yeah, you had to come prepared because you would have been blinded otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, for anyone watching via video, if you're listening via audio and you'd like to watch on video, you can find us at youtube.com/ is it just Pointless Discourse?
I don't remember.
I imagine so. I mean, if you put in Pointless Discourse to YouTube, you can definitely find us.
Show up. But I think we need, at least it used to be, you needed at least 100 subscriptions to make a custom ULR. But I think they changed that, but I'm not 100% sure. But this is something I know that we mentioned. This is actually an announcement that we can share. Mm-hmm. I also haven't checked to see if we had any announcements, but now I'm afraid to click it, like if anyone said anything or left any reviews. But
I can check. But go on. What announcement do you
I'll
have
click.
for the people?
I'm here. I will glow like the morning sun.
I mean, me too.
If I open up my eyes wide enough, I can look like... Oh, wait. I have to open up a different...
All right. Apple does not look like there's any new reviews on there.
All right. In short, we are going to be switching Spotify back to audio. It was a good experiment, but really, I think, and really it was only affecting Spotify, but it was just like, it was one of the things I personally noticed is like, we had a pretty like decent listening group on Spotify, and then as soon as we started video, they were all gone. So we're still going to have the video up on YouTube, and if things change, we'll put that video out, I guess, on other places. But currently, YouTube on videos on YouTube, audio is on everything else. And I think that's just how we're going to go forward moving out. This is what we do. We're big old people of it. I think, and I said this to Hop when she mentioned, like, man, we just changed a bunch of stuff all the time. And we're like, I think that's in our nature as content creators. We're just like, okay, what works? Rather than just like, yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, with content creation comes a lot of experimentation. It's just hard for me as someone who is a fan of the scientific process, where I'm like, wait, we've changed 4 variables and we are seeing results, but which variable is leading to the results?
And then there's me, more change!
But there really isn't an easy or a solid way in content creation to really narrow it down. So sometimes you got to throw everything at the wall at once and hope something sticks. So yeah, but if you are a Spotify listener and you are listening to this on audio, I guess feel free to let us know if Spotify doesn't push things out or doesn't update things correctly. Like if there's a setting that you have to set for podcasts that you prefer audio, video, or something like that. But yeah, let us know at someplace. We have links in the description or at twitter.com/pointlessdisco. Easiest way to reach both of us. And the DMs on that one are definitely open. We've fixed that mistake before.
Yes.
But yeah, so we will be continuing the Alien franchise. I updated my little spreadsheet of my personal rankings of the many movies we've watched recently, and I did not realize we've watched 11 movies at this point.
Yeah. I think when we started, we said even before we started, it's like, that's a lot of movies. And then we added more movies after that. But still, not to this series. But yeah, it's crazy to think about. Wait a second. When does this episode come out? Oh, this comes out on the 10th. Mm-hmm. That horror podcast I'm working on also comes out on the 10th. I release everything on Mondays, audio-wise. That was not talked about before, so. But anyway, I was just one of those things like, wait a second, what is today for the future world?
This date seems like it lines up with something else.
Yep.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And for anyone wondering, when it comes to these movies, we did not manage to find 11 Alien movies. This is Predator
That'd
series.
Be awesome.
Yeah. The Predator series into AVP into the Alien series. And in the end, we'll be looking at all of them as a whole and talking a lot about about how we rank each of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what Halloween is actually going to be, since Halloween is on a Monday. Mm-hmm. We are going to be ranking all 13 movies now. 14? I don't know.
Because this is 11, and then there's Alien 3. Oh, and then Resurrections. Yeah, 13.
Yeah, 13 movies. We're going to be ranking them all. We'll cover that more. But yeah, in a couple weeks. I don't know. I was also telling Hop earlier that I wish I could go back in time, because I now, just inadvertently looking stuff up, want to change some of my movies that I put in for our horror movie bracket.
From last year?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we could always do a horror movie bracket another year, but we did kind of just plan next year's Halloween as well.
They don't know that.
But that's the thing. If you are enjoying these types of series watch-throughs and us discussing these movies, yes, we will continue doing these.
Hey, there's a lot of horror movie series. I can't wait till we get to one that's just all bad. Because those episodes are going to be great.
Those would be very fun for people. It would be those would probably be like 3 times longer than the movie itself, because we would just not stop finding things to complain about.
Yeah.
I mean, we managed.
Like, let's stop talking about The Cell. No.
Well, I remember we
Hop.
started recording Predator 2, and you're like, there's nothing good to say about this. I'm probably not going to say anything at all. And then, like, we had so much to say about it.
Yeah. We have to say it at the beginning, so that way people don't think we actually super love this movie.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to chat about before we roll the dice to see who gets to do the synopsis for this week's movie?
Before we close, I want to just share, because I opened up our shared video app of choice and only option for watch these movies, just so that way when I opened up the tab again, I could just have Alien 3. Mm-hmm. At the end, I just want to give a small preview, because the description gave me a preview for her next week, and I'm like, oh no.
Is it a spoiler?
It's not a spoiler, it's just the setting, but I'm just like, oh, this doesn't sound good. But yeah, I just want to give a little live reaction as I read the description for Alien 3, as I finished Alien 2. So
Aliens.
Aliens. James Cameron's. Who's messaged me on this app of Discord? No. My mom's telling me to play Overwatch, and I was like, Overwatch is dumb. Anyway. Yeah, so let's roll dice.
You totally didn't read the description.
Oh, I said I wanted to do it at the end.
Oh, you said at the end. I thought you said right now.
No, sorry. At the end, because my whole experience was watching Aliens, and then I read that description. I was like, oh my gosh. So I want everyone to get into the same mindset as I am already for this Alien 3.
Okay, it just confused me because you said before we close, so I was like, oh, okay, so I'm getting the description now.
Oh, yeah, no. Yes, I see where I went wrong in words, and I refuse to fix them. But I shall roll the dice.
All right, I rolled ahead of time because my phone's charging in another room.
Well, with what I rolled, we either are tying or you are going.
Oh boy, not this again. I guess the quick synopsis of not the movie, but why we do this. We're both big fans of role playing games, and a lot of role playing games involve dice, such as Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu, and so on and so forth. Lots of systems, lots of ways to play. So, for an excuse to roll more dice, we roll dice to see. Usually, in our old format, it was for going first or whatever it is, but with the movie series, we've been doing it where whoever rolls the highest goes and describes the movie plot, and then we interject and chat about the different sections of the movie as we have written notes as we watch through it. But go ahead, let me know what you rolled, D-Payne.
I rolled a 19.
Oh, I rolled a 3.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, you are either tying with me or going first.
No, I thought this was the same thing where we both rolled like 3s one week or something like that, because the phrasing is also the same. If we both roll really low, or
true. Well, yeah, with the 19, like I just meant there's no way I'm going second unless like you have everything to roll and win.
Okay, so instead of going first or second, you get to be the one to describe the plot for us.
Yes. James Cameron does aliens.
I hope not.
Gross. So yeah. I think Aliens should also have the subtitle 60 years later and no one listens to Ripley still. I'm rounding up, but
it is 57 years later, and I did write the note, good morning, have fun getting gaslit for half the movie.
Yep. And so, but my first note in this movie is I forgot that James Cameron worked on this, because I as soon as his name popped up, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I do remember reading that. And so yeah, we start off with the escape trip. Yeah, well, the escape pod, and it is super moist in there. And as they get picked up, as I wrote, it looks like a glitter bomb went off in this ship. But this is I guess another movie that I don't know, it just takes its time, like where if it was made today, like what is it, like 10 minutes for a human to come on the ship and be like, oh yep, that's Ripley, like because it's like they find the ship and then like it shows the ship being like picked up, and then they like cut a hole in the ship, and then they stick a crane robot into the ship and scan it and it's just like passes 3 times, all while we get like shots of like the pod from as soon as it left and everything. And excuse me, yeah. And so as it goes forward, we see the humans come on, they wipe the sleep pod sweat off, and they're like, woman. And then we jump forward to where Ripley is. Oh, now I'm getting my thoughts confused, because like I know she's in like the beginning of the movie jumps around a little bit until she leaves back, but it's like pretty much she's like giving reports of what happened on the ship, where they found the stuff, where she's in business meetings of people not listening. We meet one of the other characters that I completely forgot their name of, and there's Alien IMDb that I want to put over here so I can see people's names.
Yeah, so just the parts before she has to start giving the giving her report of what happened. When she first wakes up in the hospital, she meets Burke, and he's the guy that works for the company. Is he the one that you're talking about that you can't remember his name?
So.
The suit and tie guy.
Yeah.
And then we also get a glimpse of her reoccurring nightmare.
Yes, which a real good. That's a real good scene. But one of the things that I definitely wrote down, it's interesting because like there's a lot of like shots, like the beginning of the movie. There's like it gives you a taste of the original Alien movie of just like the slow start and everything. But now looking back at it, it like once she's off that ship, it just goes. There's not like that's like the only like visual camera like nod to the first movie I feel like where it's just like it's I think that like the way this movie is paced is that it's like it does take its time, like not take it's not like a slow to whoomp. It's more like we know what we're going in there for, so tensions are already at a 5 and they're going to at least 15 by the time we're near the end.
Yeah,
So-
I agree with that. And before we lose track of it, I will mention, because it is an important thing as it goes through, the reoccurring nightmare that Ripley has, if anyone's forgotten, is the chest burster coming out of her.
Oh yes.
And then they do a good job of not replaying it constantly. They just have her waking up in night sweats or like kind of mention it side to side.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like, even though I knew it was. By the way, spoilers for an old movie. Okay, there we go. Feel like we have to say that every once in a while, but it's an interesting scene because it's just like I know she's the main character of this movie and is in at least the next 2. I don't know if she's in the last one. I just assume she is, but it was just one of those things. I'm just like, well, she died fast. And then I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. And then she wakes up from the dream. The other thing that I think is really interesting is that when she meets Burke, when he says that he's a company man, the immediate distrust on her face towards him, just like, what are you doing in my house? Get out of here.
Well, I mean, she also doesn't know where she is. Like,
Yeah.
she's essentially woken up from a coma.
Oh yeah, and that's when I wrote, well, that was a strong start when the chest burster comes out. But yeah, so pretty much this whole early section is pretty much Ripley trying to tell people, hey, this is what's going on. But I feel like as much as I don't want to give the company and the business people, I also wrote business meetings, so the truest form of horrors. I don't want to give them a way out, but it's like they kind of like they sent people there, and it sounds like when they sent people to terraform the planet where they found the ship, because that's what Ripley's telling him, is like, don't go to that planet. There's tons of things there that are biological killing machines that they get loose, and you're gonna like ruin society and everything if they get off that planet. The people just aren't listening to her, and then you just find out it's like, yeah, well, they're already on there and there haven't been any reports, and it's just like, so I guess like from that standpoint I could understand why some of the reactions from that business meeting to Ripley having, like, to us who've seen the first movie, a justified response to like, why are you sending people there and yelling, to like, people have been there for like, and it sounds like they were sent there while Ripley was in Cairo.
I believe they make a mention as like maybe plus or minus 20 years.
Yeah.
Like I think it's around 20 years that people have lived there.
Which then, well, we find out, I guess, other things later about that. But yeah, so anyway, they do that. The other thing I thought was funny, I think they say like, because I think Ripley's like, no, you just got to blow up that terraforming station. And they're like, that costs $42 million. And I was like, isn't that less than some movie budgets today?
No, that's how much it cost for her to destroy the Nostromo.
Oh, the Nostromo. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I was like, I remember them complaining. I didn't write down what they were saying that cost $42 million, but I was like, that. I think that's less than some movie budgets today.
I think for the time period, no.
Oh, for the time period, it was a lot of money. It
Yes.
still is. I want everyone to know. Yes, that is still a lot of money. But it's just funny. We're like in our world time today where it's just like, that's like an Avengers movie. But yeah, and then I don't know.
No, that is not correct. In the Avenger movie budgets, let's see. Where is the... No, I guess, yes. Take my cookies as you ruin my lighting. Avengers Endgame in 2019 cost $356 million to make. So even $42 million to Disney is like, meh, that's not even a movie.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that wouldn't even make it. But anyway, yeah, it was just like listening to that to nowadays. Like I understand, like it's a huge amount, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because Aliens came out in 1986.
86, yeah. Yeah, and so anyway, they go forward and pretty much they're like, hey, progressing the stories like, hey, we haven't heard anything from the colony. We want you to come as an advisor only. You're going to be out of danger. No, like, nothing, you won't be in trouble. Like, you won't have to do anything except give your advice. That's all you have to do. And it's like, and she's like, no, I already told you everything. And then they give Dangle, like, we'll reinstate you as a... They'll pretty much give her position back, I think it was. And then she's like, now, heck with you. And then, like, has another nightmare, talks to Kat, and was like, fine, I'll go. and then...
yeah, because the other thing you didn't mention is... At the end of Alien, she does get into the sleep pot with Jonesy, and then Jonesy is still her, like, one friend that she has left from all of that. Also, before I forget, I looked up 42 million... Oh, wait, no. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Calculate. So $42 million in 1986 is equivalent to $113,500,000 today.
That was a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Inflation.
More than just your tires. Yeah, so and then the other thing I wrote in here is like, she's like, well, Jonesy, I'm leaving. No, you're going to stay here. To where I immediately wrote, no Cat, well, they're dead. Because that cat has like the sixth sense of knowing, oh my gosh, there's a thingy in your face. So then from there we jump to the military ship, where pretty much don't get comfortable because we're leaving here in like 10 minutes. Where I wrote the two biggest things. One, I see the clothing budget increased for this movie. Because everyone in that military had way more clothes than the Nostromo crew waking up in the pod.
Hey, the Nostromo crew is just a bunch of people that worked in mines and ran ships. These people are Marine Corps.
Yes, conservative.
They get the military budget versus the Wayland budget for clothes.
Yep. And then this whole soldier wake up meet and greet session is like, I feel like did Predator? Did the Predator soldiers come into this movie?
I felt like this movie was Predator, but make it about the alien.
Yeah.
Because even through until... Well, kind of I thought the pacing for this one, even though it kind of has alien pacing in the very beginning, I felt like the movie as a whole has Predator pacing. Mm-hmm. Because even with the way that, like, like you're saying, when you meet the whole crew of characters, it's very much they clearly all know each other and they all have their little inside jokes, and we're just here.
Yeah, like I think we, whether it was on purpose or not, feel more like Ripley during this because she doesn't know anybody, and it's just like,
and they're all bullying her.
yeah. And then it's like, oh man, I want to get into that later, but I will say, like, man, the beginning of this, they make those Marines, except for is Hicks the one who was in charge?
No,
no, not Hicks.
The lieutenant. I don't remember the lieutenant's name, but no, yeah,
Gorman, Lieutenant Gorman. No, not sorry, Lieutenant Gorman. He's not the one I'm thinking of. Lieutenant Gorman is the guy who is like,
and the newbie.
Yeah, like Sergeant. Yeah, Sergeant Apone. I really liked his character. Like, he was like kind of the only character out of the Marines to start off, and I'm like, it's just like, I don't know. He was like, it's gonna sound like an oxymoron, but he was like intense chill. Like, he was chill, but at the same time, it's like he was intense to his unit, because it's just like, listen up. But it felt like at the start of this movie, they're just like, no, we're gonna make these soldiers obnoxious, and you're gonna hate the majority of them. But then as the movie progresses, I'm like, there was moments where I'm like, I'm rooting for this person I did not like in the beginning because of just how.
There's one guy I didn't like throughout the entire movie.
Oh yeah, there's people that, like, I'm not saying every soldier. But it's just like, I'm looking for.
I think Hudson is the name of the guy I didn't care for at all throughout the movie.
Hudson, Bill Paxton.
Yeah, his non-accent.
We're dead,
accent?
Man. We're dead. It's all over.
No,
that's
over.
Hicks. That was Hicks. Game over, man.
No. Hicks is the one that.
Yeah.
Hicks is the. I have a comment about Hicks later, but Hicks is he comes off as like extremely macho in the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hudson is the one with a non-accent that is just like, guys. And I'm like, what are you okay?
Yeah. I wasn't like a big fan of I'm going to butcher her name. Vasquez? Like, it wasn't the fact, like it was just more of like how she was portrayed and everything, which is like, I know it fits in that military thing, but like when it first started off, it was just like, I'm a tough woman that will destroy you all, and it's just like, was constantly confrontational with like every little bit of information that was given. But then as the story went on, I'm like, no, I'm voting, like, I'm like, no, she grew on me.
Yeah, I like her.
Yeah,
but I mean, in fairness to her, like, again, Hudson was like, you're a man, and she's like, can you just stop talking? So I'm not surprised that she would be kind of willing to fight with people in the very beginning, because people fight her all the time.
Yeah, it wasn't so much like her fighting with people, it was more, I think it was kind of,
no, she fights, I mean, like, she also kind of fights with Ripley throughout
and not even like, it was just like, it felt like at the beginning of when we're first introduced with her, it was just like everything that was said to her, it was like, smart, tough comment back. And it's just like, I understand, like, and I agree with you with like how Hudson was saying all that, like their interactions at the beginning. It's like, yeah, she probably had to do that because of just how all that Marine Corps group was like. But it was just like, coming from like Alien, where everyone's just like, jokes, because like we're pretty much family, even though we're like ready to like
be done this job.
I don't want to see you anymore. This one is just like, yep, we all took pre-workout for however many years we were induced for sleepies.
Yeah, good morning. I start doing pull-ups and push-ups and testing all my guns before I eat breakfast.
Yeah. But like that also brings up the other question I have, is like, when they wake up, no one pukes and vomits in this one. So I'm like, when did this become a thing? Because in the first two, like, because in the prequel ones, like, there's characters that are puking and stuff because of the trip. And I was like, when was this just something they decided to put in the prequels? And like, I'm trying to figure out, when did this one thing come from?
I
like,
mean, in theory, since they are prequels, it could be worse technology. In theory.
Yes. Yeah. And then it also could be just different science, like, progressions. We're like, no, like, your body would be rejecting all that, and like, you wouldn't wake up all nice. So I don't know. But anyway, we meet the crew. Pretty much, I think we mentioned everyone that is important, except for Bishop. Which the knife scene in this, where, so going into this, I didn't know that Bishop was a milk bot. I don't even know what they're supposed to be called. A synthetic. I think. I don't know.
I think it's synthetics, but yeah, no, I was aware because I made a comment when we were watching AVP1 that they used the same actor who plays a milk bot to be Wayland in AVP1, and I was like, so does this make sense in the lore, or did they just decide to bring him back for a movie?
Now that you like said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. And so, but yeah, so they have the knife scene. I've heard about the knife scene, but I never watched it. And then when I watched it sped up and everything, like, oh, that's a synthetic. That's a
milk bot.
That's a milk bot. And then it's just great because it's just like, he sits down next to Ripley, and they're all like going over the plan with her and Burke, and then he just pops a milk pill. And she's just like freaks out, just like, you didn't tell me it was supposed to be a synthetic. And they're like,
no, he did cut his finger on the knife, and he's like rubbing his hand. And
okay,
he milk blood, and then Ripley sees the milk blood and is just like, no. Yeah,
okay. I didn't see that there was milk blood. I don't know. I thought it was like a pill that he ate or something like that. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So she sees the milk blood, and then she freaks out, rightfully so. And then he throws out the line, just like, wait, what was the model? Oh, I don't remember the actual model, but like,
yeah, but he does specify the old model.
Yeah. And to where I wrote, I'm like, I'm kind of hoping now the Bishop is cool. I still don't trust any of them, but I hope he's cool.
Yeah, I wrote that Bishop says he can't hurt anyone due to updated code, but Ripley is also never wrong. So let's see how this goes.
Yeah, well, like, she doesn't, like, when he finds out that he's a different model, it's like, she doesn't like, she's like, I am skeptically trusting you.
Well, like, she's like, I don't have a choice. I'm stuck on the ship now. I don't have a trust.
Yeah, like, I don't have a choice, but don't get near me. So anyway, we go forward to the alien, get everyone in a room so I can info drop for the viewer session. To where this is the first time we have the term xenomorph dropped. And I still wonder why people refuse to inform anybody about the mission they're going on before they are 5 minutes from dropping. I will say that might hold a little bit truer to military life. I don't know, never been in the military, but I had a whole bunch of friends and have family in the military, and from what I heard, it's like, you're just told to go here at this time in this place, and from there, hey, yeah, just be ready. You'll get your mission briefings there. So
yeah, like, it makes more sense in this context to me, because like you said, like, the people that are there are contractually obligated to just go where they're needed, versus in AVP1 where they were like, we have the world's most elite scientists and we've tricked them and now we're telling them what's happening. And it's like, if I were a world-renowned anything, I'd be like, I am a very busy person. Please tell me why you need me before you drag me out to Antarctica.
It would be cool to go to Antarctica. I think it would be fun, except for,
it'd be very cold, yes.
It would be cold, but I think the bigger fear factor for me is that you could just be traveling across there and the ice would crack and you wouldn't know because of snow covering, and you could just fall straight down and like into the earth for like thousands and never just for thousands of feet and never be heard from again.
Yeah, but let's just hope you fall into an ancient Aztec pyramid and become a blood sacrifice for the trials of the predators.
I will be the blood gun.
You will be the place for the face hugger to be nice and warm in the cold, cold winter.
Hey, at least my face will be warm.
Yes, for a little bit.
Yeah, and then everything will be cold. So yeah, they give them the mission. They're telling them, hey, we're going down to this planet that's been terraformed. We lost contact. We're just hoping. They're like, and they pretty much like, why are we sending all these people? And they're like, well, that's why Ripley's here. She was here earlier. There was a whole event. It's in the thing. And they were like, aliens, woo, like making fun of her. Mm-hmm. And Ripley's just like, no, you idiots, listen. And then kind of gets cut off, I think. And pretty much Ripley's first meeting with the Marines doesn't go well.
Yeah, I wrote down, I was like, man, it sure is a shame they didn't get a chance to talk about how they bleed acid.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't interrupt Ripley.
Yeah, but they weren't listening either. So
yeah, the lieutenant was just like, watch the tapes. And they're like, wow, aliens, so scary. And the lieutenant's like, yeah, but watch the tapes. And they're like, oh, well, I've never heard of an alien in my life. And then he's like, watch the tapes.
Yes.
Poor lieutenant.
I do think it's interesting because we learn more. Lieutenant Gorman, it's interesting because like it shows like how he's trying to gain command of all the troops and they're just not listening. And then Sergeant Apone just comes in and just everyone's like, sorry, and it's just letting you know who's actually in charge. I can't remember if sergeant is above lieutenant or vice versa. I don't know the military rankings. But I want to say sergeant's above lieutenant.
From the way they act in this movie, I'd say no.
I think lieutenant is the higher rank. I'll look it up when I'm not talking. But so yeah, then we kind of go forward, which is this is one of the scenes where I'm like, I'm a fan of Sergeant Apone because they're getting ready to go planet side and they're getting everything set up and Ripley comes up and she's like, I am going crazy doing nothing. Is there anything I can help with? And he's just like looks at her for a second and they're like, all we have is a loader. And she's like, I have a license. I can drive this. I can do like says class 2, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, all right, go ahead and do it. And like he's just like, hey, if you want to help, go help. And like he's not like, no. Like, you go sit over there. He's very much like, okay, you got expertise? Go ahead and do it. And they watch her like work the loader. Where I write, loaders are cool.
I wrote, they spend so much time on this scene. If this does not come back later, I'm going to be very mad at James.
I knew this scene was coming back. This is what I knew from it.
But I thought, like, so while I thought scenes like this were cool, I thought they could have been cut in, like, half, to be honest. I know that they were, like, trying to show off all the different technology and stuff, and it feels like James Cameron does seem like the type of director who loves to be able to use whatever modern tech is available to add into his movies. But given the time period, some of the green screen that happens in this movie, like one of the scenes where Ripley is moving things with a loader and she makes the joke, where do you want it? I was like, wow, she looks like she's in a closed room in front of a green screen. Because the way her shadows land and everything, it looks a little bit weird. But for me, I know like your perspective, it looked like he was like being a good guy and like encouraging her to do stuff. I took the perspective that they were like laughing at her,
humoring her. Yeah, I saw that too. It's
where it was like, oh honey, you want to do something? I guess this is what you can do, but I don't think you can pull it off. And then even when she made the joke, they looked at each other like, huh, well, look at that, our supervisor knows how to do something. I was like, all right guys, I get it, she's not part of your crew, but like she's also Ripley.
Yeah. Well, like when they have a lieutenant, like what they have, it's,
they don't take people seriously. Yeah.
I'm looking and it says the lieutenant absolutely does not outrank a sergeant major, but it doesn't, or first sergeant. On paper, all Army officers outrank all enlisted and warrant officers in the military. So So pretty much on paper, Lieutenant would outrank. And if anyone knows this better than I do, I'm just reading brief, like real quick. On paper, the lieutenant would outrank the sergeant,
Okay.
but it would also the lieutenant looks like he's well, and it even says it like from the next part here is like because I don't think anything important happens they excuse me, they go in the ship and they go planet side, and there's a quick line thrown out which just shows you how green Lieutenant Gorman is, because Ripley's just like, how many planet side drops did you do? And he's like 39 or 38.
Oh, yeah. Simulated.
And it's just like 40 or 36 of them were simulated. And everyone in the ship's like, oh my gosh, wait a second. Who was in charge here?
And then the other person goes, how many actual encounters have you been on? Oh, 2 actual encounters. This one being my second one.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh.
They're like, oh no. So yeah, a little hint of what's about to come there. But yeah, it's like, from here there's a tone shift, like of jovial, like inner marine whatevers, to all the other stuff that we just mentioned, to I don't even know if jovial's the right word, but I can't think of anything right now. To shift to like they are in pretty much go mode now, because
Yeah.
they
And
land on the
then-
planet.
Well,
Oh, go
I was going
ahead.
to say, before they land on the planet, for some reason, it felt to me like an hour of watching them get on the planet. I was
It's
like, this is the longest sequence of them going, it's shaking on the ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if this section was cut, like, overall, like, I'll bring it up more so later, but it's scenes like this that made me go, this movie could have been a half hour shorter. Because
Yeah.
I think in runtime, this is like a little bit, it's like 2 hours and some change.
2 hours and 17 minutes.
Yeah, and then credits are like whatever. So yeah, like a little
so
bit over
it's
2
probably
hours.
closer to like 2 hours and 10 minutes, probably.
Yeah. So I was like, this is a really long scene. James Cameron
Yeah.
really likes his ships.
Yeah. It's definitely like stuff that it felt like it could have been cut out, where it's just part of me wonders, because I don't know, not Sigourney Weaver. Who wrote the first Alien? I keep getting Sigourney Weaver.
Ridley Scott
Ridley Scott,
directed.
yeah.
No, he directed, but he's not
Directed.
the screenplay.
Yeah.
James Cameron was both screenplay and director for Aliens.
Yeah. And so like it felt like James Cameron watched Alien and was like, oh man, well, they had the long sequences of this, and it's just like, I don't know, the way the cast and the characters of this movie aren't like, it's not to be, you're not bringing scientists, you're bringing soldiers. Which once there's something we can talk about when we get to xenomorphs. But yeah, which actually this brings up a really good point, like, of this thing I wrote. It's like, this movie is giving off a total different energy than any other movies, because the prequels, I think, are closer to Alien of just
the prequels.
Probably Prometheus is closer to Alien.
Yeah, I feel like the prequels wanted to be pure horror and not any kind of like action in them. So I think that's why they kind of feel closer to the Alien. This one, like, it does not read as a horror movie at all. And
It has horror elements, but it's an action.
the tone isn't.
thriller.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. It's one of the things I wonder, like, of just all the movies and stuff that have come out up to this point, if like we expect more out of horror. And I'm wondering if in that time period this was scary. But it also,
I would be very surprised given Alien existed.
yes. Well,
like, and then
go ahead.
Predator was also, I'd say Predator is more of a horror movie than this one is. But Predator is painted as an action film anyway.
Yeah.
So I think this one just wanted to be an action film, because realistically you can't really, it's hard to scare people with Alien, because like we've talked about in the original Alien, the alien is in the movie for maybe like 4 minutes. So what do you do when you've already had the monster reveal and you've seen all the stages of the monster in a sequel?
You add another one.
You add more than one. But I just mean that, like, in terms of if you tried to make the same movie again, no one would like it because it's, you know.
Yeah.
You can't just keep using it.
You can't keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But, like, speaking about horror elements, like, something that I thought was a really good horror element that I think set the tone and, like, not intensity, but, like, just let tensions be felt is when they started the motion tracker and just had that play underneath the scene. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh my goodness, that I was like, I wasn't expecting just the like, or whatever the sound was, like just it going in there. And I'm like, if I hear anything else go on there, it's gonna be, I'm not ready for that. And like, as the motion like it just gives this sense of unease. And it's like, I recently saw, I don't know if it was a TikTok or a clip or anything, but it's just like horror games when you get a gun, because then a lot of the scary goes away because you have something to defend yourself. Mm-hmm. These guys are going in with guns, so it's just like there's two options. The guns are either going to be ineffective or something's going to happen with the guns to give off a horror thing. And it's just like, this was more like, it's so quiet. And then, but anyway, they're going around the ship. They're looking, sorry, not the ship, the terraforming base, which it looks cool. Excuse me. Like I like how this is like mid terraforming. So they're able to breathe and everything. So that way they don't have to wear their like dehumidifier suits and run around. And then as they go through, they go into pretty much this medical unit where there's a whole bunch of face huggers in glass cases, and Ripley just looks at them just like, I told you, what the heck?
Yeah, she was like, I'm not in this room. I'm leaving.
Yeah. To where I wrote, the prequels have ruined this for me because I see vials of face huggers and I just assume David's hiding in the walls. Just like, ooh.
My babies.
I shed my baby. But the other thing is, like, what I really enjoy is Ripley through this, because we have, like, we're invincible. We're not going to be touch Marines and, like, everyone going through. We have Burke, who's just, like, dude, there's nothing here. We don't have to worry about it. And Bishop that's just chilling. But, like, Ripley is jumping at every shadow, everything. And it's just, like, the trauma that she has from the first movie carrying it over into this one. And just seeing it come out in real time is very interesting. Just how she's super jumpy and, like, pretty much super unwilling to be anywhere in this place.
Yeah, and then they also make a mention, when Burke first tells her that she can be reinstated, she's like, you know they did a psyche eval for me. He's like, yeah, I know you have nightly nightmares and wake up in night sweats, but, like, how bad is it really? And she's like, did you just hear yourself?
Yes. But what I really do like, which I think comes in, like, the second chunk of this movie, which it shifts from, okay, Big Trouble on Terror Planet to Newt. And Newt shows up, like, as a weird, like, shadow that they shoot at. And then they go to, and then Ripley immediately recognizes that's not an alien, like, not a xenomorph, anything with the xenomorph family. Sees Newt run into a air duct and, like, without a second thought is like, I have to help this child, and is jumping in there with her. Like,
well, before she follows her in the air duct, they also kind of, like, see her through the tubes, and Hicks tries to grab the girl, and the girl bites him, and that's when she crawls into the. Yeah. So, like, they've at least gotten visual confirmation that it is a human child, and it's not just Ripley like, oh, that's not an alien. Let me.
Yeah, but it's still like, I don't know. Even if I knew it was a human child, I'd probably be on the Marines. I'm not jumping into the air vents, especially if I know what could potentially be and is on this terraforming planet. I'm like, no, I ain't going in there. So we meet Newt, and Newt is a child from the only survivor from the terraforming planet, who I was expecting not to like, and I enjoyed Newt. Like,
yeah, she's a good kid.
I wrote Newt as replacement for Jonesy.
She does play the same exact role in terms of. It makes more sense later in the movie.
Yeah, but let's see. Then wait. Okay, I'm gonna read this note, but I don't remember the context where it was just like, looking at these hallways of the town meeting, I just imagine the xenomorph vomit on everything and doing arts and crafts.
Part of the investigation is Ripley explaining that, like, there's all the acid burns. Is that what it is that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think, because the
acid melted hallways.
Yeah. Anyway, like, once they get Newt, like, Newt doesn't really talk for a while, like, until, like, she whispers a few things. And then we realize that these, like, we're kind of going a little bit longer on time, and we still got a good chunk of movie left. So I'm going to jump forward. I'm going to kind of jump forward, and if there's anything in between that you think is important to cover.
Yeah, I was just going to make a note. I thought it was funny that everyone's like, oh man, Ripley, you have nightmares? That's kind of rough, but like, you can talk to me about it if you need to. And then they find this little girl who refuses to talk to them. They're like, if you don't talk right now, you're just a dumb little child. And I'm like, Ripley has active PTSD that she can't work through as a human adult who's witnessed this. This girl's like maybe 7.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, she's like 10 because she's in like 2nd grade or something.
Yeah,
but in either case, like, she's way too young to be able to be like, oh, I'm comfortable with opening up. Like,
yeah. There's like lines in here I'm like, I don't understand why I wrote what I did. But pretty much, like, Ripley, Burke, Newt, Bishop, and the lieutenant are all staying on. They go back to. They have like a little car that they drive around, and so they go back to there because the rest of the Marines are going to go to this other place because I think Newt mentions that they're being taken back.
She mentions, like, she's, I forget what it is she says exactly, but Ripley kind of connects that there must be, like, eggs or something. Like, there must be, like, somewhere else.
Yeah. And so they search. I don't remember how they... There's a reason they go to the place they do.
There's, like, one of the scanners picks up some kind of signal. I don't think it's movement per se, but if I had to guess, like, the whatever sensor they had picked up the eggs, essentially.
Yeah, because it shows them all lit up on, like, a radar screen, if I remember.
And it's got,
correctly.
like, they're in, like, a grid shape, kind of.
That is... Okay, now I remember why I wrote the town meeting, because the radar shows all the signatures of the colonists, all gathered in this... in the place.
That space, yeah.
And they say, oh my goodness, were they for a town meeting? And that's why I'm like, I can just imagine xenomorphs vomiting on everything and doing arts and crafts.
It all comes back. We all figure out our notes.
So anyway, they send them there. They go back to the little RV thing, to where, which is really like something that I think is pretty interesting that I didn't. Oh no, not that James Cameron is a terrible director. But it's just like, I don't know. I would not expected because I can just remember AVP of how quickly we saw a xenomorph in one of those movies. And it's like, there's so much time. I think it's like almost half the movie, if not a third of the movie, where the only aliens that we see are face huggers in a tube. We haven't seen a xenomorph. And so it's just like, I was expecting more Marines to die. And this...
Just you wait.
Yeah, I'm like, well, you know what? We're there. And we'll just call this the purging of Marines, because um, it shows like we know how scary one xenomorph is on like an enclosed space, and then like I'm trying to remember what they do. They do something. And, like, it just wakes up, like, all these xenomorphs.
So, it's one of the original colonists. They bump into her. Yeah. She wakes up and says, please kill me. And before they can kind of connect what's going on, a chest burster comes out and starts crying. And then they shoot it.
I thought they shoot fire at it because before this they take all the ammo.
Oh yeah, they take all the ammo for the guns because the aliens just so happen to make themselves a spot where if you fire gunfire freely, it causes a nuclear explosion.
Yeah,
good old thinking aliens. Convenient for them. But yes, they do. Sorry, misspoke. They do flamethrower it and it screams, and because it was born and it screams. The aliens that were made themselves nice and cozy in their nooks and crannies in this area were like, there must be life.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it's like so far in the movies that we watch, the aliens, the xenomorphs that we see, like even AVP, they're very bestial and they just go and chase. Like it doesn't seem to be a lot of thought, but it's like. It shows that like they kind of have like a natural like predatorial hunter vibe where it's just like I don't remember if it's the sergeant that gets killed. Like I know the sergeant gets killed, but I can't remember if it's this scene or one of the other people. If it's the first,
I think it's the other female Marine.
Yeah.
I think she dies because like I forget what happens to her necessarily. I think she might have gotten tackled. When she had something on her, and then the sergeant was like, call in Frost. Frost, where are you? Frost. Yeah. And then while he's screaming for help, he gets taken down, and everyone's like, Sarge is down. Frost is gone. What do we do?
Yeah,
Lieutenant, tell us what to do.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I think is really interesting because it's like, there's a scene where it's like, I'm pretty sure if you're expecting it, you can see like the xenomorph in the wall. But it's just like it's got like the camouflage and everything as it just kind of comes out of the wall and just destroys a dude. And it's just so I guess just interesting throughout this whole thing. Where it's just all that going through, and they're running through, and I just want to go through. Let's see, we have one. I'm just going to count of everybody, including Newt, that came down here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. No, those guys are different. Okay, hold on. Now I got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 people. All right. Some of them, not all of them are in that room. So we have a cast of like 16 people running around. Mm-hmm. We have Ripley, Newt, Burke, Hicks, Bishop, Valquez, Gorman, and one other person. There's like
Hudson.
Did I say Hudson? I don't know.
No, you said Hicks.
Okay, yeah. So we have 8 people. Half the crew just gets destroyed.
There's also, I think, 2 or 3 other Marine members you didn't name.
Yeah, I'm looking through here and it's not super clear. I'm just going off the cast that they have written on the wiki here. But yeah, they're just gone.
Yeah, I just wrote down out of all of the military that went in, only 3 of them made it out alive. You have Hicks, Vasquez, and Hudson. And then, but yeah, we have Ripley, Newt, Burke and Bishop that were back on the vehicle.
On the vehicle, and Hicks, not Hicks, Hudson. No, sorry. Gorman. Gorman is also on the ship.
Yes, because he's also because
he's supposed to be giving orders.
Bishop is supposed to be. Bishop is doing medical examinations on the facehuggers. Burke is trying to tell Ripley, everything's fine. We're all chill here. Don't stress. Ripley is doing the, get him out of there, man.
Yeah.
Gorman is, I'm crying. I don't know what to do. And then Hudson, Hicks, and Vasquez are like, all our buddies are dead. What do we...
Yeah, so I think this is like a real good like moment where we see the shift of Ripley from like just like I can't do anything because all these other people, to where she's like as I wrote, Ripley learned from the last movie. Screw the higher ups, because that's when she's like pretty much tells Gorman, do your job, and then like she's like, you know what, screw you, just like gets in the driver's seat and is just like, let's go. Burke, I think, helps, and then something happens where Gorman gets knocked out, like a box falls on his head or something like that.
So
Forget what happens.
Ripley slams the vehicle into the colonization building facility or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then the 3 Marine members get on it. And then because of her slamming into the wall, it's knocked stuff loose inside the vehicle. And as she's driving away, falls over and knocks him in the head, and he's unconscious.
Which is the best thing.
It's best for him. He needs to sit down. And then Hicks, I think it's Hicks, has to be like, Ripley, it's fine. We're far away. The car is gonna break if you keep driving it like this. The axle's kind of busted. We've made it.
Yeah, and because Corporal Hicks, like he's the like now, because he's the next one in charge. Ripley brings that up as well, like,
oh, before we move on, I said gotta love the classic action car scene of them falling off a windshield, and then I wrote, wow, that was a crunchy alien.
Yeah, I also wrote, I guess car is acid proof.
Yeah, because an alien did escape from the facility and was trying to hold on, and Ripley slammed on the brakes. It falls off, and she runs it over, and they're like, all right, good job.
Yeah, and so they pretty much get far way out. Which, looking back at it, I find it funny. They just left Bishop in there. They're just like, whatever, you can stay there, and they just all peace out. And then
he's in the medical facility this whole time.
And then that's when Newt pretty much is like, we got to find a place to hold up. They become more active at night, and like
right, yeah. And then the other thing that happens before I think she says that is they try to evac. But then an alien snuck onto the initial ship they came down on. Because it was like ship with truck attached. And then they dropped the truck. And then the ship that carries the truck was parked near the facility. And they were like, hey, Gorman's passed out. We got to get you. And we got to go back to the big station and like get out of here. And then and I laughed when the pilot was like, why is he not listening to me? And they did. And they just showed a bunch of blood.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it explodes. Like, we don't need to see that.
Yeah, dramatic. And then, Newt brings up it's getting dark and they can't be outside alone. So then they try and they start coming up with their plans of what to do now that they can't take the escape ship thingy.
So, like, there's a ton of stuff that's happening in here, and it's like one of the things I think is really neat, probably like without having to like point at every little thing, because there's tons of like little things that are really interesting in this, where it's the shift of where Ripley is now in charge, where like and it's like it's without a fight that she is in charge.
Yeah, they just needed a lot of people to die first.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that needed to die, but then they're just like all our commanding officers that had our information are gone. Our escape is gone. Our on paper commander is an idiot. and the only other person who is becoming more and more shifty is the company man. And so they all like, Ripley, what do we do? And so like they go and get all these different, they come up with a few different plans. They lock them all in. And then I think there's just a line I have where I think that this is when they put Newt to sleep in the med bay, because he's like, you need to get some sleep. I'm going to be right in the other room watching you. And to where I wrote, put Newt in the cat carrier for safety.
Yeah, but I was going to say, I think at this point, the current plan is stay until they can find another means of rescue or something like
Yeah.
they want to hold up until they can get another call out or something.
They hold up, and then they talk, and then pretty much they find out, wait, we can go and pretty much drone fly the other evac ship in,
but they need to fix the satellite.
They need to fix the satellites, and they're like, which Bishop's like, I can do that. Like,
I don't need to breathe. Yeah. If it comes kill me, I'm a robot.
Yeah, and I'm like, Bishop is too cool, man. He better not betray us. I'm like, I'm really, really liking Bishop.
Yeah, I have little notes for myself around this time in the movie. I said at an hour 18, I wrote a guess. I said, will Ripley and Hicks get to kiss before either of them die? And then at a minute 20, I wrote, man, I really hope Newt doesn't die. Or an hour 20, I should say.
Yeah. Another thing I wrote was, I super hate that tube. Like, I do think I have like a mild case of claustrophobia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This all came clear when I went to a water park and I went down a tube and it was just all dark and I'm like, my chest feels tight.
I don't like this.
I'm in danger. And then I noticed it like in a few other scenes where it's just like that one, I had the same feeling. I'm just like, I don't like this very much. I'm glad he's doing it and not me. But yeah, so he pretty much like, yeah, it's going to take me an hour. So the other thing they found out is that I think they read a report that with Valquez, because she was firing in the room with where all the Marines died. Mm-hmm. I think it activated something where now that they have a time, like they now only have a certain set amount of time before the terraforming planet's going to explode. Like,
no, I thought they were also planning. I thought they planned to nuke it, and then Burke was like, "Don't do it. This is too expensive."
I thought that was the case, but I don't think it was a planned explosion. It might be something later because they find a leak in there, and that's when the countdown happens. Where it's like, this thing's gonna...
Because at first they're like, we'll hold up for 17 days. And they're like, never mind, we don't have 17 days.
Yes.
And then Hudson is the, game over, man.
Game over. So I would say before we go into the one section, which can be just titled The Great Chase, there's, I think, 1 to 2 important things that happens here. Pretty much as you're saying, yeah, everyone, like, the trust of Ripley, and yeah, like, oh, they're gonna kiss, whoa. But I think something that is we can't go forward without mentioning it is the betrayal of Burke, where Burke was like, pretty much, I need to get these things back, and Ripley was like, no, you're not. And so he and then they have their argument, and he's like, I'm gonna get you, pretty much. And then so Ripley goes with Newt and just like, okay, let's take nap. And they take a nap.
Before the nap, the other thing that Ripley finds out is that she finds a log that kind of implicates that Burke told the people
to go there.
To go to where the eggs are.
Yeah. And it was that was the thing I was remembering the beginning of the movie, where like this all wouldn't have happened if Burke didn't tell them to go. Like, and there's the paper.
Not even this crew, but way back when. Yeah.
And like he read, like he saw like what Ripley was saying and everything, and then it's like, we'll go find out. And then it was just like, he's only on this trip to cover his own trail. And
he makes mentions of bioweapons, and I was like, not the bioweapons discussion again. And then, but yes. So then, did you want to go into... You can finish out the thought with Newt and Ripley in the medbay.
Yeah. So yeah, they wake up, and she's like... It's like she has her own, like, spider sense. She's like, something isn't right, because she looks up and sees one of the tubes that were holding the facehuggers knocked over. To hear little clicky clacks. And to where I realized I saw this scene before.
Oh, this particular
Yes,
scene you've seen before?
I saw this scene, or I saw a scene similar to it. But anyway, let's see. I accidentally scrolled. But yeah. So anyway, I just wrote they got betrayed. They were betrayed, and they seen the scene before. It's interesting how like she's waving at the camera to get their attention, and then like we go into that room, and like Burke's just like, boop, you see nothing, and then that's we just see like the ingenuity of Ripley was just like, all right, how am I gonna get their attention? I got fire, and sets off the fire alarm, which gets all the Marines to come in here. While she's almost gets a little close to alien smoochy time.
Yeah, the thing that confused me the most is like, so she takes a chair to the glass and tries to break open the window herself, and then Hicks shows up and like just jumps through it. I was like, oh, one-way breaking glass? I didn't know that was an option.
Well, have you seen the video of you can break through glass if you hit 3 points at the same time, and it doesn't matter because the glass it sends
Yeah, but he doesn't jump
I know
through,
that
he doesn't do anything special. He just jumps through the middle.
I know.
Because no, I'm a woman.
I was just thinking of that video when I was.
Well, I was going to just say, as a woman, I'm aware of weak points in glass because I know there's always videos shared around of if I'm stuck in a car somewhere, this is how you break out a car window. Mm-hmm. But like, it's not like he hit any like corners or special spots. He just head first dives in the middle of the window, and I was just like, okay.
Yeah. It was cool on paper. But yeah, so that happens, and look, it was the power of love, okay?
The gun scene was very flirty. It was like when people are like, can you teach me how to swing a golf club?
Oh yeah, now I remember it's like the gun scene one, and like, oh yes, that one. Hey, in
and
the
Ripley's
future,
like,
there's no time for golf, just gun.
Yeah, in the prequels, you go, are you a robot? I don't know. See me in the bedroom in 10 minutes. And in this timeline, you go, wow, what does a grenade launcher do? Oh, you don't want to mess with a grenade launcher. Yeah. She's like, maybe I do. And I was like, just kiss. Just kiss already.
There is no kissing an alien. Because if you do, you get impregnated by aliens. Or killed, thinking of Covenant.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
Both.
And then, so yeah, pretty much, and I said there was, we talked about two things. Yeah, so pretty much they're like, they mentioned a Burke, and they're like, they confront him, to where this all gets cut off, where all their alerts are going off, because they're
the
like...
The power's been cut.
The power's been cut, yes, and their motion detectors go off, and they're just surrounded by aliens, and they're like, they're right on us. This doesn't make sense. They're looking at the ground. And I thought it was a really cool scene because they open up the drop ceiling. They're all just like, yeah, we're coming to get you.
I was confused. I was like, if you have a feeling they're there, why would you slowly go up with a flashlight and go, they're literally on top of us. Where are they? And I'm like, don't put your head there.
I know. I was like, well, this is how he dies.
I wrote, it's raining aliens.
It's raining aliens. To where pretty much this is pretty much there's like just two more chunks in this movie. They're not as big as some of the other chunks, but it's like we have the escape. Yeah, the escape and the rescue is the best way of putting them. Where pretty much they're like, we have too many people. Let's get rid of a few. Burke, I don't agree with how he went out. I think he should have gotten destroyed like the woman who didn't deserve to be destroyed in Jurassic World. He needed that level of being destroyed and not just an off-camera smooch from an alien. And then Valquez, or however you say her name, I thought her was like what she did was pretty cool, where she's just like, just give me a machine gun. And this is something that I thought was very interesting. In the first movie, one alien, it felt like, and I understand none of them had guns, but it still felt like no matter what they did, nothing really hurt it until they like drove a truck into it or something. And that was Covenant. I forget.
Yeah, we've watched so many Alien movies, and some of them can survive.
They just shot
some
it
of them.
there.
Yeah, some of them can survive giant fire blasts from ships, which confused me. And I think that was Covenant, where it's like falling over, and they're like, "Turn on the boosters," and you're still hanging on. Then in other ones, they're like, "Ha, shot you in the head once," and they're like, "Oh, I'm dead."
Yeah, like in this one, like the aliens the xenomorphs don't feel strong in the face of guns.
Yeah, but in theory, these things haven't eaten or done anything in who knows how many years.
Yeah.
Or how much time.
Yeah, they're malnourished alien. But so they do that, and they're all kind of just running away, escaping. Each of them dying in different ways. Valquez gets, I think, acid splashed on her or something like that. To pretty much,
she's stuck in the vents, and she runs out of ammo, and she does the thing where she's like, "I'll kick you in the head and shoot you in the head." And I was like, "No, but and then she's like, "Oh, I'm covered in acid."
Yeah, to where the lieutenant comes back, and he has a redemption arc, which was nice because his story ends there. He blows himself up.
Yeah, he tries to drag her away to safety, and they get surrounded, and they hold a little bond together and go,
they
3,
hug.
2, 1, boom, boom.
Smooch. And they
And then, but because of that, poor little Newt.
Yeah, as I wrote, Newt's slide looked fun, because she's just like,
Yeah, she was trying to climb a ladder with Ripley, and then the force of the explosion, she like slips and falls into like a well chute.
Well,
I don't know what that is.
It's weird because she's climbing up a ladder, and then it's just like a water wheel that she's just like
underneath.
No. Like she doesn't.
And Ripley's like, "Hicks," and he's like, "I'm trying," and she's like, "Hicks," and Hicks is like, "I'm trying."
Yep. Lovers quarrel. To where they go and do that. They find her, and they're trying to cut through the floor to get to Newt. And they're like, "Oh, what's happening?" And then the alien just takes Newt, which I'm just like, okay, well, Ripley, you know what happens here. But then they're like, "Just get on the ship and go," and she's like, "No, they're still alive," which, to be fair, in the movie terms, yeah, she could be. In other terms, we don't know that. She's just hoping.
We didn't see her torn up body, but
yep.
This
isn't my D&D game.
In the first Alien, we don't have the director scene where she sees people stuck on the walls. So if you don't watch the director's cut and you watch the theater cut, then in theory, Ripley doesn't know about the alien sticking people to walls. I guess she does have the camera feed from them finding the one lady. Yeah. But I can't remember if the camera cut because communications were also bad down there.
I don't know, but I think that it is mentioned because like she's talking about it as well. Like I think it's mentioned that there's people being gathered.
Okay.
And so so pretty much they get chased by another alien where they shoot at the last second and acid splashes all over Hicks.
Yeah, because the hecking elevator was like, "What is button?" And they're like, "Button?" And the elevator's like, "Oh, I work now." And then Alien was like, "Is this an elevator ride for me?"
Is there room for one more, my friends? Taking Hicks out of the picture to where we get full action hero Ripley. And she puts some little gauze pads all over Hicks. And as I wrote, this is how all gun mods should work. Duct tape. And I liked the scene, even though it felt like a little bit over the top a little bit. But she's like, "I know what these things could do, and I want every gun taped together." And so and then we see, before all this happens, before we go into the rescue section, we see Bishop has brought the ship, and it's just like, "I'm here, we can go." And she's like, "I'm not leaving without Newt." And he's like, "You got like 20. You got less than 30 minutes, pretty much, and then
he has.
It's
when she lands, it's what,
it's like 20.
15?
I thought it was 26 minutes. When they get to the next spot, it's 15 minutes because
Yeah, it's like 15-minute warning.
Because I
when
know
he drops
this.
her off.
Yes, I know this because I wrote, great mother, great mother like computer voice is back to tell us about the boom.
Yeah,
I didn't put pronunciation. The mother like computer. That's what I wrote.
I wrote that Ripley sure likes pushing her luck against self-destruct protocols.
Yeah, this one doesn't make sense. But anyway,
I know. Go ahead.
we'll cover that in about a minute. So anyway, she goes down with all her guns and everything, her flamethrower. The whole reason she's going down here is that Newt, earlier in the movie, Ripley was given like a watch that was like a tracking device. So
yeah, because Hicks was like, "Oh, I can find you wherever you are," flirty voice, and Ripley's like, "Hee hee."
Hee hee. Gross. Here, Newt.
Well, she gave Newt her jacket or something, right?
No, she gives her that little tracking watch as well, because they're like, if you ever get separated, we'll find you.
That's true. Because the other thing that made me laugh is Ripley was like, "I got your jacket," and Newt didn't hold on to her jacket at all. She was just like, "Oh, the jacket's too big for me."
So they go through pretty much as I wrote, man, these eggs have great cinematic timing, because Ripley finds the tracking watch and she's like, Newt's done, and then we hear her screaming. Well, we see her, and then the egg opens up. She screams, and Ripley's like, I'm coming. And just fire pulls Newt out. And then I wrote the line, that sucks eggs, but I don't know why I wrote it. But anyway, moving forward.
I wrote that I think maybe that's related to them finding the egg room and the egg laying
I guess so.
one. Because it does have the
yeah.
like an AVP.
To where they find a big mama alien birther thing. I'm looking at the wiki. I wonder if this alien has a name. Let's see. I thought I saw. Xenomorph Queen.
Yeah, but this thing is essentially the same thing that they stole this for AVP-1.
Yeah, this thing's a lot smaller than the one in AVP-1. But yeah, anyway, what I thought was funny is that they're sitting there, and I was like, did Ripley just bargain/threaten the queen, like the Xenomorph Queen? Because like she has her troops come in, and the Xenomorph Queen's like, be cool, my dudes. Just be cool.
Yeah, she's like got the gun. She's like, you see these eggs?
She's got a gun. Eggs? And then Ripley's like, as I said, that was 57 years of pent-up anger just being shot out of that flamethrower and gun.
Yeah, she like takes 2 steps away, and she's like, the aliens are kind of far. Say goodbye to your babies. And she just is like and it goes all the way across.
It's like, and I was sitting there and it was like, there was once again a scene that took a lot of focus and time, where I remember sitting there and like, Ripley, do you actually have time for this?
She had plenty of time, apparently.
Yes.
Because the next time the timer goes off, it says that she has 4 minutes left. I was like, she did that in 11 minutes? She did all that stuff in 11 minutes.
It'd be interesting because I didn't. Well,
see how long it was.
Yeah,
in the movie.
like compared to real time. But so they go and escape, and the Queen Xenomorph rips her butt off and chases them. To where they get on the little space helicopter. Everyone's cool.
Oh, you forgot that the elevator ride that Ripley called didn't show up right away, so she got on the other elevator. And the first elevator she called...
Yeah, it comes down. The other thing I thought was really funny, and I was just like, neither elevator comes down, and she's like, well, I guess I'm climbing up the ladder. And I was like, well, if you survive after climbing up this ladder, you know this timer's stupid. But so then the elevator comes down, and then the next elevator comes down, letting Mama Queen up.
She had brains. She's like, oh, she go up in that?
She's like, okay.
Maybe I go up in that.
And they all get on and it's like, oh man, we made it. Like, I I think they just, well,
The building's crumbling
Yeah.
around them, and they're like, "Oh no, Bishop abandoned us." And then the ship
Yes.
comes up, and he's like, "The platform was unsteady." And I
Yeah.
was like, "You tricked me, Milkbot. I
Yeah.
thought you were a baddie."
yeah. I think this is when I wrote there will be no Milkbot praise in this movie. Dang it! But
And then I wrote, even worse, Bishop led on a hitchhiker.
yeah, so it kind of sucks. Like, not that it sucks. The thing is, it's like, okay, it might be because we watched so many movies in this universe, but it was like, okay, we know she's there, but I wasn't expecting Bishop to get wrecked.
Literally, she was like, at first you're like the tail, and you're like, yeah, every time someone's died, it's been the tail.
Yeah.
And then the queen was like, you know what? I'm really mad, and she rips him in half. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, she mad.
Yeah, to where Ripley pretty much just says, "Hey, trust me," and runs away. And guess what comes back? As I wrote it, yeah, loader time.
Yoop, 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 yoop,
Yeah.
yoop, yoop.
Which is really confusing because I'm like, this alien was super, super fast, and this loader is not. This loader, Ripley should have got wrecked.
I know, and then Ripley somehow is like telepathic because the alien like does this, like does the mouth thing, and Ripley's like, ha 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 ha,
Yep.
ha ha, you can't get me, you can't get me, I'm the gingerbread man. And I was like, but that's not even telegraphed very well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the only way to defeat an alien, shoot it out of the airlock.
Again,
Yeah. And
almost kill yourself in the process.
yeah.
Again. Almost kill everybody else in the room.
I did think it was funny how Newt's just like, no, and
And then she's like, Bishop, hold
Bishop's
me. And
like,
I'm like,
fine.
but I'm like, she's not traumatized with him like bleeding his milk blood all over the floor.
I don't
I don't
know.
even know if she's ever seen a synthetic in her life.
To be fair, she saw a lot within those past 10 years of her life.
Yeah, she could be completely desensitized. Poor thing.
Yep. Or she's just my refrigerator started yelling. She's just like, okay, like,
Yeah, but during the scene where they do the airlock sequence, I thought Ripley's arm popped off because of the sound effect they used to kick off her shoe. Mm-hmm. She like screamed, and then a noise happened. I was like, did she lose her arm? Is she dead? And then her shoe flew off, and I was like, oh, why was that so dramatic? I know why it was so dramatic, but like, it didn't line up for me.
it was a soul aligned item, soul bound item. But yeah, and then the movie ends like it begins. They all go to sleep.
Yep. And then they make the comment about can we dream? And I was like, is that where Ridley Scott decided that he would put that into the prequels where they like
Probably.
can watch their dreams in their sleep? And I just wrote my final note is dreaming was a nice bonding point for Newt and Ripley because they have the conversation at some point. But yeah, overall, this is a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's not a horror movie.
I think this is a movie that would be fun to watch with a group of friends.
Yeah, the deaths are fine. Or, not fine. The deaths are fun in terms of, like, they're kind of extreme. And then the plot is there enough that there's no holes in the plot. It just kind of is. But it's not really a pushing force for the movie. And then the pacing of, like, the first half of the movie is kind of like, I felt like they could have cut a lot out of the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
But the rest of the movie's pacing is fine.
Yeah, it's like this is a higher ranked movie for me, because I would watch this again and I didn't feel like offended of my intelligence and morals watching this movie.
Yeah, the exposition dumps were kind of rough where I was like, I get it. You wrote up this plot about why Burke is a bad guy and you didn't have time to squeeze it in. So it's
Yeah.
kind of weird. But in terms of me ranking these movies, I'd put this pretty close to like Predator in terms of how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was like a similar style movie of P1. Yeah, which they did come out around the same time, right? Because Predator came out in
No.
81. I don't
The
know.
first Predator movie came out in 1987.
Okay, that's like
Aliens.
1986.
Aliens 86,
Yeah.
right. For some reason, I thought it was more removed than that.
No,
I always
79
forget.
is when Alien came out.
Yeah, I always forget how much older Alien is.
Mm-hmm. So, but no, like as I said, like when I first finished watching it, I was like, wow, that is a really good movie. And I ranked it. Well, I've been doing like 10 out of 10, like how many points out of 10? And I did 10 out of 10. And then in reflection, I was like, no, it's not. It's more like a 7 or 8, like where it's just like, it was enjoyable. And I would watch it again with people. I don't think I would watch it by myself.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 7. Like for me, Alien is still 10 out of 10.
Oh, yes.
And that's my baseline. Mm-hmm. So I think right now in my top movies, I have, out of everything we've been watching so far, I think I have Alien, Prey,
P2.
Predator, Aliens.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's probably where your list will sit from what I heard of these
from the last two movies.
So let me share just a treat for next week. And
a little preview.
Yeah. So, Hop and I'm, correct me if I'm wrong. I know I haven't watched 3. I believe you haven't watched 3 at the time of this recording.
I have not watched any, like, Alien was the last movie in this watch through that I've seen in all these movies we had listed out.
And so we have Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. And so I brought up Alien 3, so that way it was just all ready for next week when I watch it. To where I read the little description where it says, Ripley crash lands a spaceship on an all-men's prison planet. And I'm just like, gross. I'm like,
why is that a defining feature of the movie?
Can we stop there? Like, can we just stop at aliens? Like, I don't know. Maybe
see, like, now I'm gonna be sitting there going, when's the misogyny start?
Oh, it's gonna be there already. When did this movie come out? The 90 something?
Yeah, I mean, like, this movie had misogyny in it. It was just very short lived.
Yeah.
Those characters
and in writing.
Misogynistic. Yeah.
Let's see. Does it have? Let's see. Characters, media, films, Alien 3. Alien 3.
1992.
92. Oh, I was off by 1 year.
It's a year older than me.
Baby.
Not like most would say. But yes.
And then, what, Resurrection, was that? 97. 97 was a good year for movies. I don't think it was good for this one. But anyway.
Yes. But thanks, everyone, for if you've made it this far into the episode. We appreciate you. Again, tune in next week where I will probably be screaming about why did they have to set this on an all-men's prison camp and one woman. But we'll see how that goes.
Well, no, yeah. There could be 2 womans. 2 womans.
But yes, appreciate you listening this far. Would double appreciate it if you leave any ratings or reviews on your favorite place to listen to the podcast. Triple appreciate if you interact with us. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/pointlessdisco, and we're also on YouTube. Again, any of this stuff, we'll be sure to give you shout outs and things like that in our following episodes and our announcement sections, because we want you to know that we do read the things, and it helps us out a lot as well. And quadruple appreciate if you just send this to people. Halloween is coming. Wrap your candies in an Anchor FM list. I only thought of that because I went to a book fair recently, and this lady was like, you guys want a free lollipop? There's a QR code to download my book for free on Amazon with it. And we were like, candy and a free book? Okay.
I will accept this bribe.
Yeah, thank you.
Was the book at least good, or have you ever not read it
yet? This was a day ago, so...
You haven't finished it yet?
I will download it regardless to help out the author, but I don't know when I'll get around to reading it.
No problem.
I bought a lot of books.
It's all good. I have people yelling at me because I had my mod yell at me because he's like, why don't you watch Ring of Power? Or whatever. There was another show on Netflix. I'm like, I don't have Edge Runner. I was like, I don't have Netflix. Like, why don't you watch Ring of Power? And I'm like, guy, you got to understand, unless I have a reason to, like with what we're doing now, really do not get the same enjoyment out of watching movies and watching TV as you do. It's like, and he doesn't get the concept in his head. So I have to be bribed with lollipops. Hop has not given me any lollipops for this.
Well, looks like it's my time to go. Happy Halloween soon. Happy Halloween month, everybody.
Yes. Yeah, we've been doing this since August. Woo!
Woo!
Hey. Bye.